a man that needs no introduction, Mr. Georges Kern. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you.
So, George, it is our 20th anniversary, and as part of our celebrations, I'm putting together a list of the 25 greatest leaders in the new millennium. And today you see watches entrenched in popular culture more than ever. And I wrote in my article, you can go back 20 years ago and thank Georges Kern for this because he started that all. Tell me about the inspiration for that.
So it's perfectly right. 20 years ago, the watch industry communicated like in a silo. We were talking about the designs, we were talking about movements, but it became a cultural phenomenon. If you look at the last 20, 30 years, it became totally horizontal. Somebody who likes a watch goes to the cinema, goes to a theater, is interested in art, goes to Art Basel or whatever. And at that time, of course, I must admit I'm passionate about cinema. I thought, yes, let's get into this. And you remember these movies with Steve McQueen,
yeah.
You know, I used to work with for Tag Heuer, and Paul Newman. All of that started at that time, but by chance. And we started to do it as a tool, and we were the first ones to do this at the time at IWC.
But you did it brilliantly, and I remember watching this Jason Bourne movie, right? And in it, this is one of the offshoots, so it's Jeremy Renner, who I love, incidentally. I think he's an amazing actor. There's a whole sequence where he's timing his movements when he's facing these assassins. And I remember asking you about that, and you said, Wei, there's gonna be guys that through the normal channels, I'm never gonna be able to reach, right? But that guy on the weekend is gonna take his very expensive pickup truck and he's gonna go with his family and he's gonna watch a movie. And he's gonna watch Jeremy Renner kicking ass. And he's gonna see this watch and he's gonna say, I like that, I'm interested in that. And that is a way I can contact so much of a bigger audience. How did you really get it entrenched in such a meaningful way in movies like that?
Well, obviously we were talking and we're still talking to production companies. And I think at that time we tried to rationalize it. I just wanted to mention though, that the first James Bond watch developed by Q in Thunderball was a Breitling.
Yes.
So,
I remember.
Because we talked about Tag Heuer, we talked about IWC, let's talk about Breitling. So the first one was Top Time in Thunderball, worn by Sean Connery. So yeah, at that time we started to talk to production companies. We had first right of refusals, and it became systematic. And now everybody's doing it in series, because series today are in a way bigger than movies, and you see it, and it's, as I said, part of a culture.
It's really cool to me because, at IWC there was these two really important eras. The first one is the Blumlein era, where it's cool because in the 1980s you have the resurgence of it's cool to be a guy again, right? Movies like Top Gun, Schwarzenegger, Stallone, all this. And he made marketing exactly for that crowd. And he also created watches that were very purposeful, but you got it, technical marketing. You took that and you just brought it to a whole different level, to the whole world. George, I remember your parties in, I guess it was called Issy-Yashash at the time. It was there was almost no person that wasn't a celebrity in the room. I mean, talk to me about that, because those were incredible. I remember you hired Alanis Morissette to do a concert just for us. I mean, that was so cool. And will this ever come back?
I mean, these were different times. First of all, at that time, we had much less social media. We had an incredible red carpet. We had all the prints. We had all the TV stations. I think this was probably the SIHH events were probably part of the biggest events on the planet. I mean, we had Cate Blanchett. We had all the incredible stars. The first event was with Orlando Bloom. We had fights on the red carpet. Who should walk through it? The first one, the last one, it was crazy. But I don't think these kind of events are adequate in our times today because of the wars, because of all the crises. You have to do different stuff. We do it, for instance, in Biarritz, we do surfing, it's not about red carpet, it's more going into the mud with your motorbike. It's a different experience because times change. It was crazy at that time. A lot of fun. We did this Formula One where with all the celebrities, we changed the wheels. You remember with Zidane, with Jean Reno, with all these stars. It was phenomenal, and the press got crazy. And we had people at that time offering money, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, just to be invited.
Oh, there were so many people trying to sneak into this party. It was incredible.
Incredible, a lot of fun. Oh my God. You make me look old now, and yeah.
No, but it was cool also.
It was cool.
Because you were saying this is before the social media era. So how do you get like the top global press, generalist press, to cover a watch event? It's through this, and this is a brilliant idea. Okay, so let's go from that to something that you just did just recently, and that is to do an association with. It's not just a sports organization. It's not just a league. It is representative of the entire fabric of America, and that is
the NFL.
Correct.
I knew that the NFL was very powerful, much more powerful and more public than the NBA or the NHL. It's phenomenal. Give you an example, we had the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders,
right.
Where they just made a series on Netflix, which is #1. It's a killer on Netflix. And I watched it. And they have millions of followers now. The NFL is a cultural phenomenon. There's nothing more American than the NFL. And you have over 100 million viewers at the Super Bowl final. And it's totally different from soccer here in Europe. It's much more family, much more feminine. I was in New Orleans last year at the final, the Chiefs against the Eagles. It was incredible, but a super nice spirit, passion, phenomenally interesting when you start to understand the game. And in terms of communication, I mean, we were everywhere. I think everybody noticed that we are the partners there. Super smart people. They know what they're doing. It's a huge business. It's a gigantic business. All these owners of these clubs are multi-billionaires, and they own the NFL, and they have an incredibly professional organization. And now they're rolling it out internationally. There are 7 games outside of US. There was a game last week in Brazil, and there will be many games in Europe, etc., even India, etc. So they're expanding it, and it's something new for the rest of the world.
That's really cool. I love what you said about it being a family type of sport. And I've always liked this tradition that they do before the game, which is everyone goes to the parking lot and they have like barbecues and cookouts, and it's called tailgating, right? Yeah. But it's multi-generational, it's families, and I think that's an amazing way to reach an all-new audience.
And the show, the show in the middle,
yes.
Halftime in a way. And I've heard that the FIFA is trying potentially to have a halftime show, so they would extend from 15 minutes to 30 minutes.
Wow.
To have a show at the final at the next World Cup. I don't know if this is going to happen, but there's thoughts about it.
Amazing. Yeah, it's one of the most watched shows in the world, and that one with all the OG rappers is still my favorite. Okay, so let's talk about the watch that we're here for, the Lady Premier. Now, when you first started making women's watches, you were taking the sports iconography of some of your most iconic timepieces and bringing it into smaller dimensions, feminizing it to some degree. But this is really a big evolution for Breitling. Talk to me about this.
Well, the brand evolved, and indeed, we came 7-8 years from aviation. Today, in terms of male products, we're a generalist brand. We have the Emergency, which is a tool for professional, to the Premier, which was the first stylish watch from Willy Breitling. So we have here the widths in our collection. And when 7 years ago we started in the female segment, we started with bigger sports watches. So with the Super Ocean, then we went to the Chronomat, which is incredibly successful, the Navitimer Lady, and now we are going to a more elegant watch, which is in a way the sister product of the Premier, the male Premier, even though it's not the same design. We call it Lady Premier, but it's a design more inspired by a product of Art Deco, Nouvelle Art in the 1920s, 1930s, more elegant. So we became now we are a journalist watch brand also for women, and but it is a cycle, it's a development cycle. Where do you go, where do you start from, and where do you end? Today we have a very round offering of female watches, and that watch is beautiful and will appeal to many cool women.
Nice. It's funny to me because I love a suit as well, but when I'm back home in Singapore, I'm always in like a white t-shirt or a black t-shirt and jeans and a I guess kind of like the imagery that you have of Austin Butler. But my beautiful wife is always, maybe it's just a step like more sophisticated than me. She's always very chic, you know? Still casual, but a little bit of, you know, like nonchalant elegance, right? And I like that you really express that well in your campaign. But let's take a look at these watches as well, because it seems really well suited for that audience.
I mean, we always been a colorful brand, okay? The lugs are a little bit Art Deco inspired. We call this color aubergine in French. So in English, it's called eggplant, which is a little less sexy in terms of name.
True, but I would suggest that in Italian, it's melanzane. And this is pretty cool.
That's
so maybe we call it either melanzane or aubergine.
So
it's beautiful.
We have two products with diamond set case. This is 36 millimeter. We have these straps with basically a play of color from dark to lighter. And yeah, it's a very stylish watch, which exactly reflects what your wife seems to be, zest of chic, but still relaxed. And indeed, men are more streetwear imagery at Breitling, and the new lady watch and the style of the lady we reflect here is a little bit more chic. And then we have the smaller version, which is on a steel bracelet, a typical Breitling steel bracelet in 3 sizes. We need to, to be realistic towards also ergonomy, especially in Asia. So we needed this 32 millimeter diameter watch.
Mother of pearl is nice, man.
Yeah, they're all mother of pearl dials, and it's really beautiful. And yeah, it really rounds up our ladies collection.
It's fantastic. You know, I got to ask you also a question in terms of rounding up. You are basically leading not just a brand, but kind of a group now, you know? Talk to me about the positioning of how the brands are complementary, and what can we expect in the future from the other maisons in the group?
So during this week, we will have a couple of previews for retailers, because you need a year of preparation to get the position, etc. So Gallet is definitely a sister brand of Breitling, and it will be written also on the watch, manufactured by Breitling. Oh, cool. So it's clearly a sister brand, and it will be positioned like that. Gallet has its own history, has its own identity, has its own designs. It's not a copy of Breitling. It's a brand, with roots, in particular in the US, by the way, and which we're going to revive. But clearly, in terms of style, still close to Breitling. It's more outdoor, it's more rugged, and the distribution will be similar. So we will have also Gallet in our boutiques, okay, covering price points from 2,500 to 5,000, nice. Which we left over time with our B31, which we launched a couple of months ago on the top time, which I'm wearing here, and with our B01 as chronographs. This will be, other movements will be with Solita movements, as I said, between 2,500 and 5,000, sister brand, but still outdoor. Okay, so that's one thing. Universal Genève is a total different planet. Right. Will have nothing to do with Breitling, different teams. Everything obviously related to the history of Universal, which you know very well. We're going to talk about it next year. It will be phenomenal. I think it's everything in that brand will be new in comparison to everything you see today in that price point, in that market. It will be more feminine, much more feminine than Breitling. I guess it will be 40, we might even say 50% female.
Wow, okay.
But you will have the relaunch of the Horology, you will have the relaunch, obviously, of the compacts, etc. Everything everybody's expecting. It's absolutely an incredible brand, and I can't wait to show it to the public next year.
You know, it kind of reminds me a little bit of '94 when your mentor, Gunther Blumlein, relaunched Elan and Son, right? Because it's, going for the highest level, there's a lot of integrity because it's about its own movements as well, and the movements are an expression of the history and authenticity.
Of course.
It's good. You have a great guy who's a brilliant movement guy as well.
And everybody knows it. We're talking about micro-rotor movements, and we will talk about all of that next year. And talking about Günther Blümlein, Günther Blümlein was my boss for 6 to 8 months before, unfortunately, he passed away. And it was a very intense time. So I spent with him only these couple of months, but I learned a lot.
Wow.
In terms of, he wanted to protect at that time, you know, Lange, Jaeger, and IWC in the context of a big corporation. And he had a very clear vision on how to integrate all these brands into one big watch group. He was somebody who was totally passionate about, obviously, movements, but designs, clear vision, clear strategy, clear differentiation. And he was a gentleman. You know, I appreciated his style. He was a tall gentleman, always calm, always reflecting, very smart. I was very, very young, much more nervous, etc. And I will always remember my whole life. One day he came to the office and he gave me a book to read about slowliness.
Oh, really?
Yeah, slowliness. And he basically told me, it was, yes, probably now 25 years ago, George, you have to slow down. And I still obviously have the book at home. And it was one of these moments, and I had many, you know, with Franco Coloni, I mean, with Christian Viors, with many people in my career,
right,
where it does something to you, you know, in your thinking and doing and evolving in the way you are and you talk or you work.
Now, one thing that I think people sometimes don't look at is the extraordinary entrepreneurial success you've had with Breitling as well. I mean, I think it's a public record what you purchased the brand for and how just a few years later, you know, the values that you achieved as well, which are staggering, right? Actually, I kind of did a little calculation and I figured out that you're really, really, really rich, right? So
I'm fortunate.
So actually, you don't really need to work. So what motivates you every morning to wake up and kick ass?
It's passion. It's passion because I love what I'm doing. It's very interesting. It's loyalty towards my investors. It's loyalty towards my team because there are 250 people invested in the company. You know, we open the capital to the company. I'm a big believer of having skin in the game. I want people to get the reward when things are doing well, but I want people also to have a sense of responsibility. And you can have a sense of responsibility in the company only when you really have skin in the game. And I believe in this entrepreneurial way of working. So it's both things. It's passion. I still love what I'm doing. And it's loyalty to my team, to our partners, to our investors, which are great. A great investor with Partners Group, Fredrik Antner, is a big supporter of the brand. And we are now navigating through more difficult times. And in particular, in this period, you need reassurance also for the trade, for the teams, etc. And we'll navigate that as any crisis we've navigated in the last years.
Yeah, that's something I guess I should ask you because we're in a very different climate right now. But you know, not to say we're old, but we've seen it before, right? We've seen this cycle repeat itself at least 3 times. And what is the most important thing for you during this challenging period to keep the brand on its course?
So when you're in such a situation, first of all, you need to have a vision how to get out of it. So there are factors you can influence, there are factors you cannot influence. For instance, on the tariffs, I'm convinced, I mean, it just doesn't make sense, these 39%, just doesn't make sense. And everybody knows, you know, now the businesses the business leaders in Switzerland are also involved in the negotiations with the Trump administrations, which are, by the way, all entrepreneurs. So you need to have another tonality when you negotiate with the Trump administration, because they're all billionaires, self-made entrepreneurs, etc. And you need to find a level of discussion which we can add now with the business community in Switzerland. So I'm convinced that we're going to solve it and improve, let's say, the status a lot. Then you have to concentrate, as I said, on what you can influence. And what does it mean? It just means that you have to overperform the market and just gain market share and be better than competition. And it's a little more difficult for smaller brands, because in our world, and you see it on Netflix, you see it on Spotify, you see it everywhere, the winner takes it all. You have a globalization of taste, and to impose your style, to impose your taste, you need a machine. Breitling has a machine. We are Worship. We have the power, we have the visibility, we can sign with the NFL, we can sign other things which you will learn about at the end of the year. So we have the financial power, and we have the teams, and we have the smart ideas to move forward, to bring everything, our success, and to overperform the market. And this is what you have to do, and wait for better days.
Totally get it, George. You're an inspirational guy. You mentioned how Bloomline inspired your generation. Well, you're one of those guys now for, I would imagine, young leaders as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure,
Thank you.
There's